Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I just want to do another quick video. I did one just a little bit earlier, and I'll do a follow-up with that with the self-esteem, but I want to just get some information out there on the questions I get asked the most as a therapist, whether it's questions from my patients or questions from people when they find out I'm a therapist. So I guess the number one is how do I either not take it home with me, or how do I listen to people's problems all day? A lot of people have one problem or one stressor on their mind, and it's just so overwhelming. And I have my own, and I have all my patients sometimes their issues on my mind as well. So the biggest thing is I love my job. I've always been told that if you are working and you don't like your job, it's called stress. But if you have a job that you love, it's called passion. So that's kind of how I get through it. And the thing is, if I am there for my patients in their worst and hardest times, the cool part is I get to see that out, and I get to see them change. I get to see them more positive. I get to see how strong they are from where they came in initially to where they kind of end up. So yes, there's a lot of long days, draining days, but I always say I have to be emotionally and mentally healthy to help you guys be emotional and mentally healthy. So just gonna be mindful of that. It is a hard job sometimes, but I see sometimes the hardest part is what I'm doing right now, sitting down. I tend to be a pretty active person, so not being able to sit, or not being able to get up and do things, and kind of having to sit all day is probably one of the biggest things that's hard for my job. I know that sounds like really that's the hardest, but I prefer to be up and about. So yes, that is one of the harder parts of my job. The other questions I do get from couples mainly are, Jen, do we get a divorce? I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no. I will say that if you guys are in my office, maybe you're going in that direction, but I'm there to support both of you or to navigate the problems. But I will not say, yes, you're going to get a divorce, or no, you're not, or yes, you should, or no, you shouldn't. I don't want to have that responsibility, and it's not fair to you guys as a couple for me to give that advice and have that responsibility. So some people come in with the checkbox of, we tried therapy, didn't work, or that therapist didn't work, or this isn't working. So if you're going into sessions thinking that that's the question you want to get answered, it might not be answered. What might get kind of resolved is what issues are kind of causing it to go in that direction. So I always say the three greatest things that cause divorces or relationship issues: one is communication, two is finances, and three is sex or violence or cheating. Kind of a broad category there: cheating, not trusting, lying, infidelity, all of that goes in that category. So I encourage you guys, if you're in a couples situation, get to the root of it. See if whatever you guys need is it individual counseling first, and then come together for family or couples sessions. So let your provider kind of navigate that for you. But if we're doing a session to figure out if we're going to get divorced, probably is not going to be just that easy. Okay. Some other problems or other questions I get a lot of is, how do I not react when a patient is reacting? And I say, I'm not trying to sympathize with them and cry with them and be emotional with them, because they don't need me to be emotional while they're being emotional. And that it's just a basic therapy skill. Over time, it gets easier to not react. So, but I will be empathetic, where I will be their soundboard to listen, be there, allow them to process things. So just kind of know the difference. It's almost like, you wouldn't want to go to a therapist who's crying themselves, right? We're both in the same office on different couches crying. You know, it's almost like I wouldn't want to go to the doctor and have them help me fight the flu when they're standing across the room scared that they're fighting the flu too. So just kind of be mindful of that. Trying to think of some other questions before I leave really quick. I guess one will be when parents come in and say, how come they're so good for your 1 hour session and we get home and they're just running all over the place and making a mess? And that's the thing. You're with me for 1 hour typically, and there's 168 hours in the week. So that's a lot of time for other things to happen. And it's kind of a safe space. And here, you're not going to get judged for what you're saying and versus going home. And also the other thing is, we are more comfortable in our home setting and our home surrounding. So if your kids are being complete angels at school or in my office, they're going home, and that's their place to be freedom and themselves. Get freedom and be themselves. So just kind of know that that's their go-to spot. It's almost like as adults, we work very differently in our job when we are working out of the home versus when we get home. So just kind of be aware of that. Again, there's 168 hours in the week. If you're just doing 1 hour of therapy a week or sometimes every other week, it's a lot of time to revert back or work on things. The other question is for eating disorders. I'm a huge advocate and survivor of an eating disorder, and I treat them. How can you get better from this? A lot of people with depression, anxiety, they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Eating disorders are one of those long-term issues and struggles that people cannot see an end to. So when people say, like, how did I recover? I say I recovered from one, but what I really mean to say, and I will actually try to start correcting myself on this, and I typically do, but I don't say I'm recovered because who knows? I might have this catastrophic event in 10 years and revert back. I don't think I will. I'm assuming I won't. I'm processed through all of that, but I'm just saying if something were to happen like that, I always say I'm in long-term recovery. I'm in long-term recovery, and my goal is it to be long-term, lifelong recovery. But I cannot revert back to saying I never struggled. It's over. It's done. Because things come back. So I would say the longer you have in recovery, I have multiple years in recovery, so I don't have those food thoughts. So yes, the food thoughts can stop. Do I think about food? Yes. When I get hungry, I think about food. Do I stare in the mirror and say, oh, that doesn't look right? Sometimes, but I don't obsess about it. Do I let the scale in the bathroom define my day or how good of a person I am? Absolutely not. And you shouldn't either. So just a couple questions on being a therapist. If you have questions, comment, send them, message me on them. I'd love to answer your questions because a lot of people don't know what it's like to be a therapist unless they are one. All right, so have a great week, and I will talk to you guys soon.